It's an organic way to keep pests off of our crops. By keeping our crops covered, pests can't get onto the crops.
Hey guys, it's Brijette with Sanity Seed Company, and today's video we are doing the Garden Revisited. These are a really cool, super special set of videos that we're shooting where we actually go back to old videos and clarify your questions and comments to make the content even better. And there's another reason why we're doing this is because, well, there's a reason why I'm sitting down. It's because my feet are super swollen and I'm really tired and I'm very pregnant. I'm gonna have another baby in end of September and it's end of August. So I'm at the final countdown and these videos are meant to support you while I'm snuggling with our new baby boy this fall. This particular video is going to be about shade cloth and row cover, two of the most important tools that we have in our garden. And now if you watch this video, I'm gonna talk a lot about row cover, but we're gonna explain the differences between the two because they often get mixed up. So check out this video from 2021 and then we'll jump into your questions.
Row cover. The term row cover is simply any fabric that goes on your row of crops and it's meant to help it grow better in one way or another. There's a couple of different types of row cover, and on our farm we use two types primarily, which really make a difference in our garden. So this is called Agribon. That's the brand of the row cover, and this is basically spun polyester. It's a light fabric. And the reason why we use it on our farm is it does several things that are very beneficial for us. One, it's an organic way to keep pests off of our crops. By keeping our crops covered, pests can't get onto the crops. Cabbage loopers, different types of moths that lay their eggs on your brassicas, which turn into leaf-eating caterpillars, they can't do that if it's covered. It's a very simple way to keep pests off your crops. The other thing that this does, which is fantastic for our super hot weather here in Southern California, is the light color actually reflects a little bit of the UV light, so it keeps our crops cooler. Another great benefit of row cover is that by keeping your crops covered, we've got an irrigation line running underneath here. It's actually going to keep in some of the moisture. It allows for it to be a little bit more humid underneath this row cover, which is so important for us in this dry, hot climate. So that's this type of row cover. Let's talk about another one. You've seen this on our videos. We use this all the time. This is called shade cloth. This is a woven plastic material that is woven in a way that it actually keeps some of the UV light off of the plants. This is 40%, meaning that it blocks 40% of the UV light. In general, if you're growing vegetable crops, you don't want something over really 50% because you're blocking out too much light and the plants will become stunted, and you'll also just create an area underneath the plants that insects love. So we use this in the summer when it gets really hot and we get sunscald on our tomatoes and on our bell peppers. And we also use it in the fall when we're trying to protect our crops from the really hot, dry Santa Ana conditions that we often get in August, September, and October. So these are two different types of row cover that you can use on your farm. You can use them for season extending, meaning that I can keep my plants covered for a little bit longer, well into the spring, and they'll be more protected, they'll be happier. Or you can use it to start your crops early, like we do with the shade cloth. We start our crops early in the late summer, early fall with the protection of our shade cloth.
All right, so we got tons of questions on this video, and just in general, as a teacher in our classes on the farm, I get questions all the time about these two particular products, how they differ when you use them. One really great question I got from somebody just north of Temecula, which is awesome, is at what stage do I start using row cover? Okay, well, row cover, I've got it here. Let's look at it very closely. It's a very thin fabric. It's almost like a wedding veil. Dun, 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 dun. Wait, that's not even the right song. Mom brain. The point is it's a very thin fabric, and the reason why this is so thin is because this is a fabric that we're going to use for zone 9 and 10, which are hot areas of the United States. You don't want a really thick fabric because this is going to hold in temperature and humidity, okay? So if you used a really heavy fabric that they use in like Maine, it's going to fry your plants. Now, what stage do we actually use this at? If you're a brand new gardener and you've never used this product before, you're probably gonna think of it primarily as being used for frost protection. Yes, that's a benefit. I've got it listed on the board, and I've got it listed way down at the bottom with some asterisks on it because it's really not that important for us. The biggest reason why we use row cover, or sometimes called frost cloth, is to hold in humidity and also to help protect our baby seedlings. So the time in which you would use this would be the fall when you're planting out your brassicas. And the reason why I say that is because this frost cloth or row cover is going to do so many things that is really important for your fall crops. It's gonna hold in humidity in a time of the year, especially in Temecula, when it's really hot and very dry. It's also going to keep pests off your plant. It's actually going to keep moths from laying their eggs on your tiny little brassicas and eating them up, as I pointed out in the video clip that you guys just saw. And it's going to just, in general, protect them when they're tiny. Now, you can actually use row cover all the way through the season, but if you look at the benefits here, over time, those benefits are really going to be less and less important. When do you want lots of humidity? You want to reduce the soil crust, you want pest protection, and you want frost protection. You want it in the fall and you want it in the winter. Come springtime, it's not as important. And that gives a perfect segue into talking about shade cloth and how it differs. All right, so shade cloth is similar in the sense that you could actually call it a row cover too, because it's used to cover a row of crops, right? But it serves a different function. So first of all, it gives you no pest protection because look, little tiny pests can get through there, whereas this is a finely knitted material which pests cannot get through. See? So this is not going to offer any pest protection. It is not going to necessarily hold in humidity because of those tiny little holes. But what it is going to do is reduce the UV intensity. And I wrote that specifically in that way because it doesn't actually reduce the hours of sunlight, which is a misconception with new gardeners. It's just kind of like sunscreen. It's going to keep your plants from getting sunburn, reduce the amount of evaporation from the soil, and basically cool down the temperatures where your plants are actually planted. So this particular product is really great to also use in the fall if you're planting out brassicas and it's really hot. Then as the winter months go on, you don't really need it as much because it's nice, cool Southern California zone 9 and 10 temperatures. This usually gets stored away in our greenhouse and then we don't pull it out again until late summer, early fall when those temperatures start to rise. Both of these products are season extenders, which means you could use them strategically to get a couple more weeks of growing season, either at the end of the season or the beginning of the season. Now, the next most common question we get, which we actually had on the video, is, okay, cool products, how do you actually use them? How do you hang them or put them over your crops? Well, both of these fabrics are really light, and honestly, sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I might just take this row cover and literally just flop it onto the plants very quickly because it weighs less than ½ an ounce. It's very lightweight. If you want to use hoops to hold it up more permanently and also so that it looks a little bit nicer and you can get in there and do your weeding a little bit easier, there are lots of companies that sell hoops for a lot of money. And I'm going to link in this video a very easy way in which you can make your own from Home Depot. You simply get a spool of a particular weight of wire and you can cut them. You can make them as big as you want. And for 15, 20 bucks, you can make, I don't know, 30, 40 of them, which is more than enough. On our shade cloth, these actually have grommets so that you could hang them with string, you could clip them. What I've seen that's really cool is people will actually set this up in a way in which you can kind of open it and close it, depending on the season. Shade cloth is so important in the garden, especially in really hot urban areas like all of you LA growers. You're gonna be 5 degrees hotter than other parts of Southern California. You're definitely gonna wanna have shade cloth always on the ready if you have temperature spikes, and having it hanging in a way in which you can basically like open and close it like curtains is really helpful, and that's what those grommets were put there for. So the last question we have is basically a clarifying question of whether or not you can use shade cloth or row cover. Well, this is a really good example of the differences between them and then the common benefits that they have. So row cover, this lightweight fabric here, is going to hold in humidity, which is really important when you are direct sowing your seeds. It's also going to reduce soil crust because there's humidity, right? Making the soil stay soft. That's going to give you better germination on your direct sown seeds. It's knit tight enough that insects can't get through, so it will give you pest protection, particularly on leaf-eating caterpillars. And lastly, with some asterisks, is frost protection. And the reason why I kind of laugh about this is other zones call this frost cloth, and that's the main thing that they use it for. Here in Southern California, we really don't get that much frost, and if we do, it's very mild, which is the reason why this is super lightweight. Now, don't think that you can run out and buy a heavier weight of row cover and have more benefits. Actually, in contrast to that, the heavier it is, the less you'll be able to utilize it in the garden because it's simply too much. So this is 1/2 ounce is what this is rated. Now, shade cloth is to reduce UV intensity, reduce evaporation, reduce wilting, but it gives you no pest protection. I want you to know that that's very important. And lastly, how are they the same? Well, they both regulate soil temperatures and they both increase transplant success. That's the key to take away from this video. Both of these products can be used together or one at a time to increase your successful transplanting of your crops, especially in hot, dry fall weather. So now if you're wondering where to get these, there's lots of places that sell them. These particular types of row cover and shade cloth that we have had them custom made for zone 9 and 10. Because I myself have been victim to getting a product that's meant for a totally different zone and then it ends up being worthless. We'll link to both of these so you can get them for your garden. You can use them season after season. They are the best investment that you can make in your garden and will make it so much easier for you to transplant your precious transplants. All right, now as always, I'm gonna ask you to subscribe to our channel. We specialize in information for zone 9 and 10. So if you've watched this video and you have more questions, comment. I will get to them, I'll answer your questions. I want to support you as a gardener and make sure you are as successful as possible.